local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
Woo! Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. We're powered by one of our new partners, Bucked Up Energy Drink. Bucked Up Energy. When energy meets science, you get Bucked Up Energy. And that's what the guest line is now, the Bucked Up Energy guest line. It's got the deer, antlers, all that kind of stuff. And, I'll show you the can right here. On the cameras, you can watch the show.
They did a great job with those cans.
They did. You can go to buckedup.com. That's with a B, by the way. Like you shot a big buck over the weekend. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Do you have something real quick, Blake, or are you good?
Yeah, well, it's Black Monday in the NFL, and we'll get to this. There's some coaches who've been fired that we expected. One that we did not. Brian Flores was just fired by the Dolphins.
That surprises
me. That's a
me.
terrible mistake.
Yeah. I think he's a good coach. They've had a really good defense.
They went on a 7-game. They started 1-7. They went on a 7-game win streak.
It's
a bad fire.
That's weird.
Continue with your interview. Sorry,
right.
It just shocked me.
We're going to welcome in Bill Shanks, Georgia Insider. We have the national championship game tonight between Bama and Georgia in Indianapolis. And Bill Shanks joins us. He's got Sports Talk Radio in Macon, and he is a Georgia Insider. In fact, I think Jeff Malone was from Macon, Georgia. I'm not sure if I'm right there, but I think he was. He was a great player at Mississippi State, basketball player, 100 years ago. Bill, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm in Indiana, so the connection's not great. Did you just say that your next guest is bucked up? I don't think I like your tone there.
That's pretty good. All right. Here we go. We've got the rematch. Georgia is chomping at the bit to win their first national title since 1980. Kirby has done a great job. They have been close. What needs to happen tonight for Georgia to get over the hump, Bill?
Well, they've got to do what they did not do on December the 4th more than anything, and that is get to Bryce Young. And they got to him. They just couldn't put him down. They got to put him down tonight. They've got to put him on the ground. I mean, they had plenty of quarterback hurries in the championship game, but they just couldn't. He was just very elusive, very slippery. Had an Alabama reporter tell me at halftime of that game, he's just very slippery. He's not easy to bring down, and they were right. And so I think they've got to bring him down. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Alabama does without John Mechie. And obviously they know they can't run as well as they did against Cincinnati on Georgia's defense. But the Dogs have got to put Bryce Young down a little bit. They've got to make life miserable for him, like Auburn did and like Cincinnati did at times last week as well.
All right. Speaking of the Georgia defense, now that Alabama's missing Mechie and for their standards, this receiving unit has been decimated with injuries, and their young guys really haven't stepped. I mean, they're like 5-star guys, but they haven't really stepped up. Do you see? I mean, can Georgia shut down? May be a little extreme, but can Georgia contain this Alabama passing game, or do you go back to what you just said, Bo? It's all about disrupting and making Bryce Young uncomfortable.
That's it. I mean, I think that's it. That's what they did all year long in the regular season with every other quarterback they faced. They made that quarterback have a bad day and walk away saying, what the heck did I just face? I don't think you have to do a slam dunk on him, but you have to make it very well known early on in this game that tonight's game is going to be different than December the 4th, and he's not going to have as easy of a time and make them adjust as they go along. I mean, I think you do. And so I think it comes down to that for Georgia's defense. Georgia's got a great defense. They've got a tremendous defense. I don't think we're going to see Alabama score 41 points tonight. I really don't. I think they're going to be – I mean, I'm saying 30-20. I think they're going to get 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals because I think Georgia I love the way they sound. I love the way their players sound. I love the focus they have. They just sound really, really good, and they sound like they just sound perfect. They don't sound cocky. They just sound confident. It's not about Alabama for them. It's about them. It's about what they have to do. They know what they have to do differently than what they did on December the 4th. And I think that Michigan win gave them a tremendous injection of energy and just kind of got their swagger back a little bit, because they got knocked down on December the 4th. They got brought back down to reality that they were not as good as they thought they were, which might have been the best thing to happen to them. Now, after what they did against Michigan, and I know Alabama's different from Michigan, there's no question about that, but still, for a defense to have that mentality back, that they are able to do what they've done for 12 regular season games, I think is vitally important. So, yeah, I think they've got to set the tone. All year long, this Georgia defense set the tone with every game they played. They did not do that after when Jameson Williams went for that lone touchdown and everybody gasped in that stadium seeing that extra gear that he went into. It changed the scope of that whole game right then and there, even though it was only 10-7. But it changed. It was like, oh, crap, something just happened to the Georgia defense that hasn't happened all year long. Well, you know, they've got to regain the momentum starting out tonight of we're not going to allow that to happen. And if they can avoid that early on, they set the tone in their defense instead of allowing Alabama to set the tone on offense.
Bill Shanks, Georgia insider on the Out of Bounds show and the Bucked Up Energy guest line. All right. That's where I was going with my next question. You somewhat answered it then as far as where Georgia is psychologically. You believe that they're in a good place, that Kirby Smart is not overthinking this thing, and that the Michigan game was what they needed, and both Kirby and the staff and the players are in the right place mentally and psychologically, right?
I do, and you know, I did not go to Miami. I watched the SEC network coverage of the game and to listen to the Georgia announcers. And when I did, ESPN put a box on the left side of the screen of Kirby and kept it on Kirby the entire time. And I was amazed, Bo, at how calm Kirby Smart was in the first portion of that game. Now, he got a little PO'd right before halftime when the clock management wasn't good. He should have yelled at his offensive coordinator for that. And then he got PO'd at the end of the game when they were getting a little sloppy. But early on, it was like, God, he's taking a really good dose of medicine because he is calm, and it calmed me down. It made me calm, thinking, all right, he must have a lot of confidence in what he thinks his team is getting ready to do. Well, they came out and had a perfect drive to start that game, and they took control of that game from the very outset. Now, look, I know tonight's going to be a very different environment, and he's facing the evil snake on the other side of the sideline. I get that, so it's not going to be as calm. But that told me something, and I think it was the recovery of what had gone on December the 4th, that they had recovered from it. There were a lot of people going into New Year's Eve thinking, well, is Georgia going to be able to recover from getting their butt kicked on December the 4th? Well, they did, and I think that just gave them a tremendous amount of confidence even now to make them sound the way they do right now, to sound confident, to sound like, you know, we know what we've got to do. And look, there is pressure on these players. There's pressure on Kirby Smart. They've heard the 41-year stuff. It's not just us old farts that know how long it's been since Georgia won the national championship. They know the responsibility. They know that this will change their lives, that being a national champion in the state of Georgia for the first time in 41 years, that'll be in the first paragraph of their obituary, no matter what they do in the NFL or in life. And so they are fully aware of that, and they don't at all.
All right. You think it's 30-20 tonight, Georgia? You think Georgia can
Yeah.
hold on. That tells me that you believe either Georgia picks up some kind of big defensive touchdown or something, or you believe that Stetson Bennett's going to make maybe 3 to 4 big plays in that offense?
I do. I really do. I think Stetson Bennett's going to. I think I'm going to get. You know how they have a GoFundMe for people who need money? I'm going to start a Go Apologize for Me for people to apologize online to Stetson Bennett. We're going to have 1 million signatures by February the 5th. I just think this kid's going to do it, Bo. I really do. I think he's poised. I think he's ready for it. I really, really do. I'm just thrilled by his maturity. I think he's played Alabama twice before. He knows what he's stepping into. You know, he knows how cold the water is tonight, and he's not going to be overwhelmed by it, I don't think. And you know, they didn't lose on December the 4th because of Stetson. They lost because of their defense giving up 31 points in about 16 and a half minutes. So I think Stetson's going to do fine. I think they need to not abandon the running game like they did in the championship game. But I mean that was I think probably in part because they were getting their butt kicked on defense, and they may have panicked a little bit from the coaching perspective because they were running the ball effectively on Alabama. They were not getting 80-yard runs, but they were getting 6-7-yard runs pretty easily. So they need to keep running the ball. They need to outrush Alabama. You know, there's part of me that thinks if they outrush Alabama tonight, they're going to win the game. Alabama barely outrushed Georgia in that game on last month. So, I feel confident in the offense. I think George Pickens is ready to have a big game tonight, and I think Brock Bowers is superhuman.
All right, we'll leave it there. Well, real quick, your sports talk radio show out of Macon. Give me the breakdown of how much is dedicated to Georgia, obviously football, and then pro sports like Falcons, Braves, so on. How does that look?
Baseball's irrelevant right now because they've got a commissioner who doesn't give a damn about the sport that he's leading for $11 million a year. But so the Braves, even though they won the World Series 2.5 months ago, they're kind of on hold. Nobody's cared about the Falcons in a long time. It's all Georgia football. And believe me, no segment today for me starting at 1:30 Eastern is going to be dedicated to the Georgia-Kentucky basketball game last night.
All right, we'll leave it there. Bill Shanks out of Macon, Georgia insider. He's heading to Indianapolis, and we've got the rematch between Bama and Georgia. And is this Kirby and Georgia's time to take down Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide? Blake, all right, we lied. Blake's got one question for Bill Shanks.
Well,
go ahead.
Bill's really good, and
no doubt
he gets emotional, which I love. So
he's
Bill,
passionate.
Yeah, which is important.
Hell yeah, I love it.
Bill, we've talked a lot about the different aspects and pressure and things like that, but for Kirby Smart and this team who has looked better weeks 1 through 12 than Alabama until that SEC title game, and they looked better in their semifinal game than Alabama did against Cincinnati. If you lose this game tonight, and let's say you lose like you said, 30-20, but it's the other way, and Alabama wins, is there any crack in the armor for Kirby Smart in Georgia? Is there any true beginning to concern like, hey, as long as Saban's at Alabama, we'll always be second fiddle?
Well, look, I think Kirby was hired for what we're doing tonight. I mean, there's no question about it. Kirby Smart was hired for what I'm driving to right now, which is a national championship game. And we knew when he took over who he had to beat to accomplish that. I'm glad they're not playing Michigan or Ohio State or Notre Dame or some Pac-12 wannabe. They need to go through Alabama to do what Kirby Smart was hired to do. Kirby wasn't hired to come in here and win East championships or to win 10 games. We've had that before. He was hired to win tonight. So there's incredible pressure on Kirby. He knows more than anybody. He played at Georgia. He knew in the mid-'90s when it had been 15 years how difficult it was for that program at that point to get to a championship level. So, sure, if they lose tonight, I'm going to take 8 months off to avoid the 8 months of griping I'm going to have to hear from people who are going to be complaining about it. But this program, this is one of the elite programs in the country.
Sure.
There's no question about it. If you were to say, all right, give me the top 5 elite programs in the country, you'd be moronic to not name the University of Georgia. But the only thing missing on their resume is a national championship. So Kirby Smart knows all of this that I've just said. He knows it. He gets it. And he knows why he was hired. So, are the fans going to be pissed? Are they going to ask questions? Then I'm going to be a smart aleck, and I'm going to say, all right, well, who the hell are you going to hire? What are you going to do? You're going to go, David Shaw going to come from Stanford and be a better coach? Are you going to let's go hire Jim Harbaugh? Do you think he's going to be a better coach? I mean, look, it will not be pretty if he loses tonight. We know those questions will be asked. But this is the right man for the job. And but he knows he needs to get this over with. All anybody's talking about today, more than, now I'm not talking about you guys or this interview, but I've already heard nationally. I've already heard, this morning, well, it's been 41 years. We need to get past that. It's time for them to get past that so we can just talk about the game and the matchup and so forth instead of, they're going to win their first game since Jimmy Carter was president. We need to get past that, and I think Kirby's going to do it. And plus, the one thing I'm afraid about that, thank God, you guys haven't asked. I had a caller last week call up, and I think he just wanted my blood pressure to burst on the air. He asked me if Georgia won tonight, how much credit should Mark Richt get? I thought I was going to die.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. We'll leave it there. Bill Shanks, Georgia insider, driving into Indianapolis tonight for the Bama-Georgia National Championship game. Bill, thank you, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
See you, man. That was good. Bill Shanks joined us on the Bucked Up Energy guest line. When energy meets science, Bucked Up Energy. You can find those drinks in service stations and grocery stores and so on. In around the metro area, central Mississippi area. 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Blake will have Tom Hart coming up next with the SEC Network, play-by-play.
Yes, sir.
Among other things, Tom does a great job. This year it was Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kubelik. And Tom's been on the show before, so we look forward to having Tom on and talk a little SEC. It'll be a short hit. That's one of our 10-minute segments. So Tom Hart with the SEC Network will join us next. Bill Shanks believes that Georgia can flip this script and win tonight 30-20. That's scoring a lot of points to me. It's still under. I mean, that's holding Bama to less than 3 touchdowns, if you count point afters. Wow, that's kind of a comfortable win. I don't see that. I think Georgia can win the game. But I think it'll be closer. That tells me that Stetson Bennett IV is going to make several plays. I know he's more athletic and I guess quicker, faster may not be the word, but he can move a little bit. I guess if Alabama is dropping, and at times dropping, 6, 7 guys, maybe Stetson can find some running lanes, but I would think, Blake, he's going to have to do it with his arm, at least at some point.
He's going to have to make a couple throws.
Right?
Yeah.
Tonight. And I guess it's possible, but he needs to prove it to me. It will be a great story if he's able to pull this off, because nobody knew who he was, and still a lot of people don't know who he is. Really, I mean, other than because he wasn't a 4 or 5 star player that signs with these programs. Yeah. Even Mississippi State and Ole Miss have signed several 4-star quarterbacks in the last few years. And of course, Matt Corral was a 4-star who played like a 5-star. And if Georgia had Matt Corral tonight, I would be going with the Georgia Bulldogs, but they don't. So there you go. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Superior Foundation. For all your foundation repairs, Superior Foundation, superior.ms. Show is also presented by Independent Roofing Systems. Independent Roofing Systems, the #1 commercial roofing company in the state of Mississippi. All right, let's switch gears real quick.
Yeah.
No surprise here with the Bears firing Matt Nagy what direction will they go? But I think some people are surprised that the Miami Dolphins moved off of Brian Flores. That I think he did a pretty damn good job, and they went on a tear this year. And I'm kind of scratching my head on this. Stephen Ross, the billionaire owner, who he's allowed to do what he wants, all these billionaire owners will, who owns the Miami Dolphins, decided to move off of Brian Flores with the Miami Dolphins. So there you go.
I can't. It's a terrible job. He's 19-14 in his last 2 seasons. They missed the playoffs by like a game the last 2 years. Oh, and by the way, he's had to completely rebuild the roster. And by the way, do you know what the only true calling card relationship was for Deshaun Watson with the Dolphins in this offseason? It was Brian Flores. So the Dolphins have not only probably put themselves back a few years with this decision, but now they've probably lost their only shot at getting Deshaun Watson. It's a terrible fire. And I expect Brian Flores to be hired within 4 days by another NFL team.
You would think so.
Oh, he'll be hired immediately. He's a great coach.
Well, he's a good coach.
No, I think he's a great coach. I think what he's built, what they were and what he took over and what he's done with Tua, I mean, they went 8-1 down the stretch this year.
Well, they just beat the Patriots, and they went 9-8.
Yeah.
And like you said, just barely missed the playoffs.
He's dealt with a lot down there, and he's had to deal.
Well, they haven't won since Marino.
No, and he's had to deal with dysfunction in the front office.
23 years, right? Not even Jimmy Johnson could get that thing going. And then they just hired a bunch of, what in the world are they doing? Well, they did hire Nick Saban, but he was only there for 2 years. And that's the whole Drew Brees, medical team, maybe misdiagnosis, if you will.
Yeah. So we're now up to 6 jobs open in the NFL.
All right.
3 have opened today. So we knew Oakland was open. I do that every time. Las Vegas.
Okay.
We knew Las Vegas was open with Gruden being out. We knew Jacksonville was open with Urban being out. And then I think it was yesterday Denver fired Vic Fangio.
Okay.
So Denver's open. And then today, the 3 jobs that have opened so far, Miami, now with Brian Flores being fired. The Chicago Bears fired not only Matt Nagy, but their GM Ryan Pace. And then Minnesota fired both their head coach, Mike Zimmer, which we thought was coming, and their GM, Rick Spielman. So you now have 6 jobs: the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Vikings, the Bears, the Broncos, and the Dolphins, all open.
All right, let's go over them again. Miami, Minnesota, Denver, Las Vegas,
Jacksonville, and Chicago. And that's just right now. There still is potential for maybe 1 or 2 more to open up.
Will Jim Harbaugh, 1, get an offer? 2,
go?
Will he go?
Ryan Day?
Yeah.
Did he leave Ohio State?
Ryan
And
Day.
how about the fact that of those 6 teams, one of them's in the playoffs? The Raiders, with an overtime win yesterday, they are in the playoffs with no head coach. Remarkable.
Unbelievable. The Out of Bounds show is brought to you by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck. Spray and bed liners and lift kits. RPT Rick's Pro Truck in Gluckstadt, Flowwood, Lakeland Drive, and RPT Commercial, Highway 80 in Pearl by the airport. Coming up next, Tom Hart with the SEC Network talking some college football on